Welcome back to the Kian and the Press Show. Kian is back, and it's that time where we do power rankings again. Power rankings going into the last few weeks into playoff time. Exciting time of football. You know, it's the holidays. We got a lot of football. We got football on Christmas. We got football on Saturdays and Sundays and Mondays and anyway.
Thursday. Don't
Yes,
forget Thursday.
of course, Thursday. There's just football, NFL, all the NFL you can want. So today we're going to do our power rankings, and then we'll do our picks at the end. And the picks we'll just tell you who we think is going to win. We won't go into detail about it because we're going to go into detail over our rankings. And I'll start first. Number 10, the Los Angeles Rams. Sean McVay, Matthew Stafford, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, and a young defense. Having the Rams trending at the right time. I trust McVay and Stafford. They didn't play their best against the 49ers, but they won. And that's always a tough matchup between the 49ers and Rams. You don't know where you're going to get. It was sloppy because of the weather. But I think the Rams are going to win the division. I think they're going to finish out the season strong. And watch out. Injuries are racking up for the Lions. There's some teams in there that I think the Rams can beat. But number 10, I got the Rams. Who you got number 10, Ian?
Number 10 for me, this was a tough choice because I feel like there are a lot of teams in that, I think it's pretty close in that, 9 to 15 range. But I ended up going with the Buccaneers. I think they have some good talent on offense. Their run game has been good throughout the season, and they have some good players on defense, and I think they're overall just a solid team. And some other teams might have some holes in some specific places, but I think they're kind of reliable, and I think they can win games. And I just last week they beat the Chargers, and the Chargers up until that point had the number one scoring defense in the NFL, but they scored 40. And I don't know if that's because the Chargers had a bad game or if the Buccaneers were able to just get past that on offense. But I think the Buccaneers are a good team. I think they're in the conversation, and I think as the division leader for the NFC South, they might have a close game in the wild card.
Okay. Next up, number 9, I have the Denver Broncos. Broncos, they should have lost last week, but their defense has been consistent all year long. And Bo Nix, while streaky, he's had some good games and some bad games, he is coached by a really smart coach in Sean Payton. Do I think the Broncos will make a deep run in the playoffs? No, just because of Bo Nix's, inexperience. But their defense keeps them in all their games. And when you have a defense that can keep you in a lot of games, and if you can keep Nix from not turning the football over, you can stay in them. So, at number 9, I have the Denver Broncos.
I also have the Broncos at 9. I thought about potentially moving. I thought they had the potential to be a little higher, but ended up settling with them here. I think they have a lot of great players. I think Bo Nix is probably looking like he will end up being a good starter for them for a while if he continues to play and improve. Although he didn't have his best game last week, he has been mostly good for the season, and I think if he can continue to play that way for the rest of the season and into the playoffs if they make it, I think their offense will be able to succeed. And their defense is really doing great. Nick Bonito, Zach Allen, lots of great players on that defense. There's a lot of youth on this team, and they've mostly been doing good, and they've been able to beat good teams. They've been able to play well. Last week was a little sloppy at times, but they were able to get lucky. So I think this is the maximum of where I can put them for now.
All right, my number 18 is the Baltimore Ravens. And it's funny, their defense, you take their defense last year, and paired with the offense they have this year, I mean, think about how unbelievable this team would be. Um, but that's the thing; it's just every season's different, and also if you think it's crazy right now, if you look at the betting favorites for MVP, if you look at Lamar's numbers this year compared to last year, you'd say, and you did a blind reveal, you'd be like, oh, that must be the numbers from last year when he won the MVP. No, no, his numbers here are way better, just phenomenally better. But he's third in MVP odds right now because the Ravens are not playing good enough. It's interesting how MVP voting is. It's very interesting. He's playing phenomenal. Obviously, Derrick Henry's playing phenomenal. Their defense is a liability. Their kicking game is a liability. Their inability to beat the Steelers is a liability. So until they get some of that stuff figured out, I got them at number 8.
At number 8 for me, I have the Steelers. I think they are a great team. They have a good defense, a good but aging quarterback, and a decent run game. Their offensive line could still. I don't think they have a good, solid starting lineup. And without George Pickens, the receiving room isn't that amazing. So I think their offense might be what holds them back, but it has been good. I just don't know the extent of that. And their defense has been great, and they lost to the Eagles last week. I thought it might be a little closer, but it, but the Eagles are one of the best teams in the league, and I think they could be higher. But I think there are definitely some ways that teams could beat them. So I have them at 8.
All right, my number 7 is the Steelers. Um, and to piggyback on a lot of what you said, that their defense is phenomenal. Mike Tomlin is a good head coach, and they're gonna they're not gonna play dumb football. Russ. One of the things that Russ does that Tomlin likes is he's not gonna turn the ball over a lot. So even though he may not have as many explosive plays down the field as he would like to, especially with Pickens, they need another receiver. That's something they have to get next year. But they will play close games and they'll play tough games. They had an opportunity to beat the Eagles last week, came up short. But I think they'll be a tough out for the rest of the year, and so that's why I'm at number 7.
Okay. At number 7 for me, I have the Packers. I think the Packers, they're a good team. They've been able to win games pretty easily against average and worse teams, but they've lost some games to some better teams. So I think around the middle is a good place for me to put them. I think they have a lot of talent, but uh, on the defense, I think their secondary could be a little better at cornerback. They don't have that much depth, and the receiver room is not all. They don't really have a consistent lineup. But they're just overall just really solid. I think everywhere. So I think they have some young players that are going to improve and end up being a good team. I don't see them getting any worse. I think it's probably only up for the Packers. They're just in a really tough division, and it's going to be really tough for them to succeed.
Yeah. Again, number 6, I have the Packers. So it's funny the way the list is working out. Not that we planned this, but I think that our top 5 are a lot different. But yeah, the same thing with Packers. They're in the tough division. I think next year is their year. I really do. I think they're just 1 year away. I think the addition of Josh Jacobs. I think their offensive line is very young and really gelling. Obviously they have a really good young receiving core, and if they can really keep those guys healthy, they make a few additions to defense, like you said. I think they could use another good linebacker. Quay Walker's all right, but he's up and down with his play. And but I think that division is so tough. The Lions have locked in a bunch of their key guys who just had injuries this year. They'll be back. The Vikings with Kevin O'Connell aren't going anywhere. They're just a really well coached team. So It's just a really tough division, but I just feel like, they had a rough start with that Brazil game, horrible NFL scheduling, just dumb, and then Love getting hurt on that horrible field. It really kind of set them back a little bit, but they're right there. They're right there. So, number 6, I have the Packers.
Number 6 for me, team that kind of threw everything off, I guess, uh, is Baltimore, the Ravens. I I have them above some other teams. I really think they have a lot of potential. Um, I think they definitely have some more holes, but they have one of the best quarterbacks in the league, one of the best running backs in the league, and they've got some decent receiving options. Mark Andrews has been playing well, and I think their offense can do good. That could take them uh, through a decently deep run in the playoffs, but it's just their pass defense, which has been uh, just the biggest weakness all season, and it seems a little off because last year their defense was so great, but
Number 1 defense last year.
and they still have a lot of great players like Kyle Hamilton, Marlon Humphrey, and they even added another cornerback. But I think they need to develop, and their defensive coordinator left, and maybe you could look in the front seven. But I think that is the biggest weakness for this team. But I think they have a lot of top tier talent that some other teams below them don't have quite yet, and I think they have a lot of experience, and they will give some trouble to some teams.
Okay. All right, and number 5, I have the Detroit Lions. They've fallen, and I feel for you, Lion fans. I really do. Last year you were a couple plays away from making your first ever Super Bowl. It was that close. And this year, your team looked even better. And then it started with Hutchinson's leg. And the injuries have just kept going and kept piling up to the point where it's affecting not only the defense but the offense. You've had a couple offensive line injuries. The guys have missed some time. Ragnow's been hurt a little bit. Decker's been hurt a little bit. But you've been able to overcome those offensive line injuries could get depth. But when you just lost every linebacker you have, almost 3 of your 4 starting defensive linemen, multiple corners, just devastating. They're signing people from other teams' practice squads just to fill roster spots, to just put a defense out there. It's going to impact your team. And they gave up tons of points to the Bills, couldn't stop the Bills. They couldn't really stop the Packers the other week. They just kept running the football and kept them off the field. I just don't know how the season is going to end for them, but I feel for them. I feel you for your Lions fans. It could get ugly fast.
Yeah. And for 5, for me, I have the Minnesota Vikings. They, as of now, I believe they are the second team in the NFC North, and they have been looking.
But tied for the best record in the NFC.
Yeah. They have been looking pretty great. Sam Darnold has had a few off games here and there, but mostly played good. And but I think what's really been going great for the Vikings is their defense. The defensive scheme is still great, and just some of the additions that they made in the offseason, like Jonathan Grenard and Andrew Van Ginkel, have been going great for them. And I think that is why the Vikings are going to be pretty difficult to deal with. Like a few years ago, when they went 13-4, their defense wasn't as great. But this year, I think they could certainly.
Didn't have Brian Flores as a DC then.
Yeah. This year, I think they could certainly give teams, and they have given teams some challenges, and they've just been winning like every game. They are very complete, and there are still some weaknesses, but I think they are a top 5 team.
All right, my number 4 team is the Vikings. Um, I think that they're going to end up winning this division. Um, they are if they have two areas of concern is the tackle position. You know, Cam Robinson is not to the level of Derishaw. Um, O'Neal got hurt a little bit their last game against the Bears, so he's a little banged up. So if you have a decent pass rush, you can affect them. But their play calling is great. Kevin O'Connell puts them in good spots. He takes what the defense is giving them. He'll run the football as much as he will based on your looks. He will spread the ball around. He's not just force feeding Jefferson. If you guys are keeping a safety high over him, he's going to feed the ball to Addison or Hawkinson. Yeah, I mean, Jalen Naylor's caught some touchdown passes this year. You know, they're a very, very smart football team. And Kevin O'Connell is a great coach. And then Brian Flores is going to develop a scheme against you that's going to make, you struggle, especially for quarterbacks that aren't at a high level. So I think they're a tough team to play. I think they're a little bit healthier than some of their other teams in the NFC. So
Yeah.
they are peaking at the right time, and I think that they're going to go on and win that division. That's who I have at number 4, the Vikings.
Number 4 for me, I have the Lions, and I think this is I still have the mirror because we haven't really seen them be as really as I think they'll probably take a bit of a fall off with all the injuries that have piled up, and especially that have happened to the last week or two. So I still think they have a lot of potential, and their offense is great. They still have some pieces there, but they lost a lot of pieces on the defense, and they've had a lot of injuries there. So I think they could drop. Uh, they could drop in some people's rankings, but I think they still can be one of the best teams in the league, and they can still give teams some challenges, and still got some good coaching, and I think their offense will still be a challenge. But I'm worried for them.
All right, my number 3 team is the Buffalo Bills, or the Fighting Josh Allens. Um, the Bills have a defensive problem. They've given up a lot of points the last 2 weeks, where they lost to the Rams by 2, couldn't stop them. The only thing that kept, the Lions threw for almost 500 yards against them. They just stopped running the football because they were down because Josh Allen kept scoring. Um, but I'm worried about the Bills' defense. I'm not worried about their offense. Nope, they can put up points with the best of them. But they scored 90 points over the last 2 weeks. Um, and it's not going to change the last. I think they played the Patriots twice in the last 3 weeks, and the Jets, I think. So I don't see them losing for the rest of the year. And they do hold the tiebreaker over the Chiefs. So the Chiefs have a tough schedule with the Texans. They face the Texans, Steelers, and Broncos the last 3 weeks. So could be a couple losses there. So who knows? Bills could end up being the 1 seed. My only issue for them is their defense, and maybe they'll get healthy. They'll fix some schematics. I mean, playing Drake May twice and the Jets once will help that. But my worry for them is their defense. They've got to figure out some solutions there, and being able to stop the pass.
Yeah. At number 3 for me is the Kansas City Chiefs. I think they could be at 2-1, but if they keep winning, I don't see a reason to drop them at all. They won the game by multiple scores. Good for them. And their only loss is to the Bills. But this team, their defense can be great, and they keep finding ways to win, and they won't let themselves lose. But they make the games close and, I guess, entertaining, even if we still know what the outcome is going to be. But I don't know why I would drop them. Maybe they could be at 2 or 1, but it's your turn.
All right. Number 2, I have the Chiefs. And the defense has carried them all year. Patrick Mahomes' numbers maybe the worst of his career. But it's hard when you don't have solid weapons consistent weapons is the better term, every week. And that's been a struggle for them.
Mm.
Also, the tackle position, big struggle for them. There's some matchups in the playoffs that could really be tough for them. So that one seed is super important. The easier side of the bracket. If you're on the two side, you get maybe you have to have Baltimore come to town or Pittsburgh come to town. Who knows? You've got some tougher matchups in the division round in the first round. So they really want that one seed. They want to host the Arrowhead Invitational again. They want it back. But they have the best coach and the best quarterback in football. And until someone else goes and wins the Super Bowl and plays the way that Patrick Mahomes plays in the playoffs, I'm going to call him the best quarterback in the league. I know his numbers aren't as great, but someone else needs to do it. These other quarterbacks that you guys people like to talk about, oh, this guy's better than Mahomes or that whatever. Until he does it when it counts, in the playoffs, wins the Super Bowl, then we can have a discussion. But I'm going to take the guy that's two-time Super Bowl MVP, two-time Super Bowl champion. Anyways, so I need see the Chiefs fail before I'm going to have them drop, so that's why they're number 2.
Okay, and number 2 for me is the Buffalo Bills. They have the MVP frontrunner,
Mm-hmm.
who makes plays without the best weapons
Yes.
and
Very true.
decent offensive line, a pretty great running back in James Cook,
We get a good running back stable, I think.
and a few other guys that that could develop into just being consistent number 2s and 3s in the future. The defense has been allowing a lot of points, but they have a lot of talent there. I think if this isn't the Bills' year, I think one more offseason, they bring in some good players. They ensure the defense can be good. I think they could definitely be a Super Bowl team and make their 5th Super Bowl, potentially win it. And they keep winning games, and if they're outscoring their opponents, then they will win. And if they make one mistake on offense, that could be it for the Bills. But they haven't really done that yet, and I think they've shown that they can be the second best team in the league.
All right. Number 1, no surprise, the Eagles. Playing the best football in the league right now. Their offensive line is their wreckers. They have an amazing run game, and their defense is under the radar. Vic Fangio is doing a great job. They lead the NFC in scoring defense. They just make it tough. They're playing smart. These guys have bought in to Vic Fangio. This is what I thought Vic Fangio would probably do in Miami last year when they hired him. He told it was a disaster. Maybe it's the city of Miami. It's hard to get guys focused. These guys are locked in Philadelphia. They're listening to Vic. They're picking it up. They have a lot of young players in that defense. The defense is going to be good for the foreseeable future. I like the Eagles as in the next 5 years of roster. They have a lot of young guys. They may need to get a few more offensive alignment. They're kind of going through. Lane Johnson's getting older. They replaced Kelsey, and that's going well. Landon Dickerson's younger. Jordan Mailata's not that old, but they just. Man. But these games aren't close, and the only people that don't take the Eagles seriously are the Eagles. They're weird. Nick Sirianni is weird. If they don't win the Super Bowl, it won't be because of the players. It'll be because they're an unserious team sometimes, and Nick Sirianni is a crazy person. Anyway, number 1, Eagles.
For me, number 1 is Philadelphia Eagles. Yeah, I think they just have the most complete roster in the league. I think their offense is doing good. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith are having great seasons, and getting one of the best, if not the best, running backs behind the best, if not the best, offensive line, with one of the best quarterbacks and a good receiving core, and also one of the best defenses, which you also get 2 great players in the draft, can have some pretty good results. And I think, Philadelphia will be great, and I don't see a reason why they can't patch up holes when they pop up. The only reason that the past few years or recently they sometimes might not be viewed at the top is because of the coaching or specifically the head coach, which, uh, well, specifically this year because I think the Corners are much better
Right.
this year. But because some the other teams under them, I think, have better head coaches or more trustworthy head coaches that we've seen.
Yes.
Um,
Imagine,
so
imagine the Eagles with D'Amico Ryans for the head coach. Imagine D'Amico Ryans had a team with this much talent. Imagine Matt LaFleur coaching the Eagles. That's a scary thought. If they had a head coach that is proven competent and just doesn't have the talent level the Eagles have, it's their one glowing weakness. It's crazy. But hey, their roster is so good. It's so good that their team is running. But if they, well, anyways,
yeah, it's right now. If nothing bad happens to the Eagles, it's their season and playoffs to lose.
Yep.
So
That's the way I look at it too. Um, all right, we're gonna do our picks. We've already gone way long on this video.
I forgot about this.
Yeah. I'm just gonna read mine off first, and I'm gonna read off quickly, and then Keen will read off his.
Okay.
And you notice that probably not too much difference. He's kicking my butt again. Every week beats me by one. Every week beats me by one.
Whoa.
And now he's 10 games better than me overall. Yes, I see it. Everybody can see it. 164 and 60 is really good. I feel happy about 154 and 70. It's just 10 points worse than you. All right, here we go. Full week, 16 games, starting on Thursday. I got Broncos over Chargers, then Chiefs over Texans, Ravens over Steelers, Bengals over Browns, Falcons over Giants, Lions over Bears, Colts over Titans, Rams over Jets, Eagles over Commanders, Cardinals over the Panthers, Vikings over my Seahawks, Bills over Patriots, Jaguars over the Raiders, 49ers over the Dolphins, Buccaneers over Cowboys, and the Packers to demolish the Saints on Monday night. What do you got, Kian?
Well, I was planning on doing a little explanation, but
No time. Go fast.
okay. Broncos over Chargers. Chargers played bad last week. Chiefs over Texans. No explanation needed. Ravens over Steelers. Might be close. Bengals over Browns. Falcons over Giants. Giants want to lose.
They do.
Lions over Bears. Hopefully Lions good. Colts over Titans. Rams over Jets. Rams good. Eagles over Commanders. Cardinals over Panthers. Panthers want close games but still lose. Vikings over Seahawks. Sadly, Bills over Patriots. Patriots won't lose. Jaguars over Raiders. Raiders won't lose. Dolphins over 49ers. Maybe. Buccaneers over Cowboys. Packers over Saints.
All right, those are our picks and those are our power rankings. Next week, Christmas on Wednesday. So I'm thinking maybe we do a video Tuesday, Christmas Eve, and we will then post that early so you guys can have a great holiday with your family. Otherwise, take care.